Tuesday, August 29th, 2017, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So it's about 11 a.m. London time. We've had a lot happen since I made my last video yesterday, late morning as well. We've seen gold break out yesterday through the 1300 level, and we got up to around 1313 or 1311 or thereabouts. And then late yesterday when the COMEX reopened at 6 p.m. New York time or 11 p.m. London, gold soared. Not soared, but gold spiked even higher, went up to around 1319, 1320. And then I looked in the news, and there's a story about North Korea. It's come out. There's a guy from the CFR, the head of the CFR, Haas, his name is. I think it's Richard Haas. And it was announced that North Korea fired a ballistic missile over Japan, and that it went into the Pacific. So this morning, it says North Korea fires ballistic missile over Japan. South Korea military raising alert. That's on Zero Hedge. And then it also says, North Korea, there's an article here. Bill Blaine, North Korea is waving a red flag in the bull's face. What will Donald do? So that's also helped gold. This morning, we traded to a high of 1326.26 overnight in London. The low's been around 1309. Right now, gold is 1320. So we've finally broken through that 1300 level. It's not purely because of what's happening in the Korean Peninsula and Japan. We broke through 1300 before this headline or this news came out. So this is just helping gold. Silver right now is 1747, up only 3 cents. We've made a high of 1764. And in terms of where we are in gold compared, for example, with the election last year, gold spiked to 1336 on election night in the U.S. after it was found, it would look like Trump was going to win. And then that was the high. That's been the high since then. So we've gotten within $10 of that high at 1326. Silver is kind of disappointing. Silver got up to almost 19 on election night, and we're still, still languishing here at 1750 or thereabouts. Looking at the chart of silver, though, if you take the high from last year in July, and that's, also the high earlier this year in April, there's a very good trend line running through there, and we're trying to break out of that trend line right now. So even though silver is lagging behind in terms of his, recent historical moves, the market looks okay. Other markets, copper still doing really well, $3.09, right near the highs, up another 2/3%. The Dow has suffered. We're down 120 right now at 21,673. The low has been 21,644. So it's been down almost 150 points. S&P is down 17 or 0.7% of 2426. The low has been 24.21. What else? Yeah, the currencies are doing very well against the dollar. Pound is 129.67, up almost 1/3%. The euro is broken through 120. It's 120.40. The high is 120.71, and it's up 0.5%. The dollar has dropped against the yen as well, which has helped gold. We got down to 108.26. I think 108.13 is the next support there. We're now at 108.60, down 2/3%. The dollar against the yen. The stock markets, the DAX is down 227 points. The FTSE is down 93, so the DAX is down almost 2%. The FTSE is down 1.2%. So a lot going on. A lot going on. And the Treasury, 10-year Treasury, that's rallied today. The yield has dropped 5 basis points, which is a big move. I haven't read, the news, financial news, but of course this has happened because, as they call safe flight to safety, that's why they buy the treasuries, down 5 basis points. Bunds are down as well in terms of yield, down 4, so the Bund price going up. That's the 10-year German government bonds. 10-year gilts at 1%, that's down 5 basis points. With the RPI running almost at 4%. RPI used to be the old measure of the cost of living. The CPI is still running about 3%. So it doesn't really make sense that we are where we are in terms of the UK gilts. But apart from that, yeah, a lot going on geopolitically now. This is an interesting situation. But before I go further into the geopolitics, war, and North Korea, the United States government, I want to talk about briefly a video that Catherine Austin Fitts tweeted yesterday, and I thank her for that because I hadn't seen it, and it's a new presentation. It's just over an hour by a guy called Kevin Shipp. He's a former CIA officer, anti-terrorism specialist. And he's come out very recently, and he's a CIA whistleblower. And he said, and the title of the video, which will be up in the cards and below in the description, is New CIA Agent Whistleblower Risks All to Expose the Shadow Government. And it's really interesting because I was watching that yesterday before the Korean news came out, North Korea. I even showed it to my daughter, and I said to myself, this is quite amazing. I wasn't surprised by the content in what he said, but he differentiated the shadow government from the deep state. And the shadow government is basically all the intelligence agencies which are run by the CIA. He says the national security the national security, I forgot, the agency that's supposed to run all the other, intelligence agencies is not really in charge. He says it's the CIA, and that's the shadow government. He calls them the shadow government, all the intelligence agencies and the CIA, and he said they've been in power since 1948, and it's also unconstitutional. President Truman, allowed it to happen, and it was created on the back of the National Security Act of 1947. But he basically explains how the CIA is unconstitutional and how it acts unconstitutionally. It doesn't have to. It's secret, and it doesn't have to give any. It's a bit like the Federal Reserve. It doesn't have to tell Congress anything, and if Congress asks them to tell, to come and talk, they redact everything. Everything is in black. But my point is that this is really interesting. He's just come out with this, Kevin Shipp, and he says the deep state is actually below the shadow government. Deep state is the military, industrial, congressional complex, he calls it. It's all the big corporations, but they're below the shadow government. And he says the purpose of shadow governments is to create wars so they can keep control. The deep state does the same, making money, and he gives the example of how the shadow government created a false information about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and how that led to a war, and that President Bush accepted that intelligence. And it's funny because now we get this thing in Korea. We've been told that North Korea has fired a missile, over Japan into the Pacific, over Japan, over Hokkaido is the northern island, into the Pacific. Have we actually seen any proof of it? Maybe it's out there in the news. They've shown a missile flying over Japan. I haven't seen it. But can we really trust these people? I mean, the Japanese Prime Minister's come out and announced it, but I'm sure he's in contact with the U.S. authorities. I mean, is this far-fetched that they could just make this up and to create this tension in North Korea and possibly a war? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm reading here about the Gulf of Tonkin incident in Vietnam. And it says, NSA, it's from Wikipedia, NSA report. In October 2005, the New York Times reported that Robert Hanyok, a historian for the U.S. National Security Agency, concluded that the NSA deliberately distorted intelligence reports passed to policymakers regarding the August 4th, 1964 incident. The NSA historian concluded that the motive was not political, but rather to cover up honest but errant intelligence. Hanyok's conclusions were initially published in the winter 2000, spring 2001 edition of Cryptologic Quarterly, about 5 years before the Times article. So there you go, you know, they make things up and start wars. And, you know, the other thing this guy, Kevin Shipp, said is that, you know, they, when the CIA was created, this is really interesting. In 1947, the people behind the CIA were the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations. And one of the big members of the CFR were the people that owned the New York Times, the Grahams. So this guy actually says the shadow government works together with the mainstream media. So it's amazing. And I would add that the CFR was a creation of Chatham House, which is the Royal Institute for Foreign Affairs here in the UK, and the Pilgrim Society, which is something that I'd have to go deeper into. I can't really go into it right now. It'd take too long. But am I saying that I don't believe in this North Korean incident, this ballistic missile? Yeah, I don't. I want to see proof. But besides that, though, the thing, you know, the markets are reacting to this. Maybe, you know, it's a big distraction. Maybe it's the trigger that will take things down. You know, the financial system, a reset. I don't know. And they will use, you know, North Korea as an excuse. So, yeah, as I leave here, it's 10 past 11. So 10 past 6 New York time or Eastern Daylight Time. Gold is 1320. Silver 1749. Dow down 120. S&P down 17. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And if you'd like to donate to my channel, there's some links below in the description. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.